Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. It's your roving reporter, Nicola Cairncross, calling from the Waldorf Hotel in London.
You're such a mad liar. You told me you're going up on Wednesday, and I had a conversation with you about how should we change the podcast. You said, no, it's later that night. And then I saw the Gary Vaynerchuk crowd last night, and I thought, well, I don't need to look tonight because Nicola's going tomorrow night.
Nicola's going both nights.
Yeah, oh, right, there are two nights, you didn't say.
Well, I didn't even know there was two nights. It was only for the people on Snapchat. And Phoebe, of course, is on Snapchat, and we were driving to the gym, and she said, oh, there's a meet-up tonight. And I said, yes, I think I'm going to go to it. And she said, well, I'll come. So we had a right old evening in Soho, I can tell you.
Oh, great.
It was really good fun, yes, which after obviously the last couple of weeks has been in short supply.
Were you able to tell your hero that you were actually at that thing in San Diego, but were too busy watching him on YouTube in your bedroom to attend his gig?
No, I haven't mentioned that yet, but I'm sure I'll get a chance today.
Oh, dear.
Today is courtesy of Adrian Savage, who obviously noticed that I hadn't been able to get a ticket because of all the events preceding, and he just popped up and he bought 4 VIP tickets, and you get some books with it as well. So he let me have one at a knockdown rate, as they say in the East End, and so I get some books. So I think we're going to have to figure out some sort of competition for our lovely listeners.
Okay,
which would be rather fun, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your week been like then?
Well, I had the estate agent round yesterday to value my flat.
Oh, how did that go? You said he was a bit of a good sort.
No, I liked him. He was young and ambitious and from up north, which means he calls a spade as a spade, like me. I told him not to blow smoke up my...
Yeah.
I won't use it. And tell me what it's really worth, and tell me what you can really get for it, and tell me how long you think it's going to take. He says it takes 4 to 5 months to achieve a sale. That doesn't mean get a buyer to make you an offer that you accept. It means from beginning to end.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 4 to 5 months. He valued it at 400,000. He thinks we'll probably get 380, 390, which would probably be fine. He reminded me of something which I know already and which is a useful idea. I thought it was very good, and I've never heard it come out of an estate agent's mouth before, but he said the flat's worth what people will pay you for it, which is what I always tell my clients. So I liked hearing that from him, and he wasn't one of those hooray Henry estate agents. Despite what this is going to make him sound, he's gone skiing today, which sounds like a very estate agenty thing to do, but there you go, nice man. And he believed in, at a very young age, he already owns his own home in a decent part of London, and he's done that by graft and selling.
Well, we love graft and selling. Gary talked because it was a Q&A last night on the corner of Soho Square and Frith, but he was astonishingly able to talk to people in a very direct way. I'll tell you a bit more about that in the Who's Impressed bit. But yeah, he talked about selling. There was a guy there, and he said, I don't know what to do until I start my own business. And Gary said, learn to sell. And I've been trying to impress this on my niece particularly, because she hates where she is at the moment, but she's really, really, really good at customer service. And she really cares about her customers. And I said, if you learn to sell well, that's all it is solving people's problems and listening to people and helping them with solutions.
And caring about them. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because people really tell, can't they, when you actually are genuinely caring about them?
Yes. And going back to the flat thing, I've fallen in love with a new place where I could live far too soon, of course. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because it's now I know it's 4 to 5 months away. No point. But I have found somewhere nice that I would like to live, but we'll see.
Oh, well, that's good, because that means even if it doesn't end up being that one, it means that you know that there are places out there.
I think it probably will end up being that one because the lady Airbnbs it in for short lets, and I think she could do that very nicely across the summer, and then I'd be ready by August or September. And the place is an artist's studio, which is a lovely idea, and it has a cat flap. And she's already said we've already swapped pictures of our cats.
Oh.
So how right does that sound?
No, it does sound rather perfect, I must say. I must say our manifesting skills are coming on apace, aren't they? I mean, I really wanted to see Gary V, as you know, and a VIP ticket appears, and then a meetup, and you've got.
Well, I thought nothing ventured, nothing gained. Might as well send her an email. Not ready yet, just putting the flat on the market. Then she sent me a picture of the studio in the snow, covered in fairy lights, and she said something to me in an email. She said something like fairy lights, and I went sold. Anyway, we swapped pictures of sheds as well, because hers is a little bit like mine, only nicer.
Oh, okay. Well, it's very good. Fairy, you can't go wrong with a nice fairy light, I find.
No, you said something about fairy lights, didn't you, in the last week?
Yeah, we've got fairy lights on our mantelpiece at the moment. They went up at Christmas and they haven't come down since.
No, I know, lovely.
We like it. We like it a lot. So what's fueled your fire then?
9 new clients.
9? Count
well,
them.
I haven't spoken to them all yet. I'm processing 9 inquiries. I'm speaking to 3 this afternoon, 1 tomorrow, and a couple of next week, I think it is, and emailing another. It's fun. I'm not going to name names, but one of them this afternoon is somebody that found me via you, and I'll talk to you about her later. Yeah. It's just lovely to have fresh energy, and people I've known forever, people I don't know, people saying it's time for me to work with you, and 2 Sarahs this afternoon and 2 Sallys next week.
Oh, lovely. And what occasioned this, from a marketing perspective, what occasioned this flow?
Well, it's the same thing as when you asked me that last week, which is I've told them in my weekly newsletter last week and this week, and this week's Fridays and next week's, which is the 1st of April, that if they're not a client by the 1st of April, they probably won't be able to be, because of my 2 new impending ginormous projects.
Yeah. It's interesting because I had a client who applied for the thing where, I make a turnkey clicks and leads business for them. And I'm still experimenting with that, really. And to be honest, with all the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, I sent her a really nice email saying I didn't think, if you're not ready to go ahead right now, I didn't think, we'd have to put it on hold indefinitely. And she came straight back and said, no, I'm really, really keen. Is there any way you could just take one more client on?
Oh, great.
And I thought, okay, so she's a lot keener than she sounded originally. So perhaps I'll do that, because it'll energize me. Exactly. New clients are new energy, aren't they? Which is right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. The other thing that's fueled my fire this week, as I've told you already, is that Mr. and Mrs. Podcast UK have asked me to be on their podcast.
Why you, not me? That's so annoying.
Well, I thought to myself, frankly, when I looked at the nature of their business, I thought they've got the wrong woman here. They need Nicola. So that's why I asked you, have you been on it? Because I thought that must have been the only answer. And when I've done I think what I can see them doing is a chain letter podcast, i.e. they ask the person they're interviewing, like Mark Mawhinney did. Okay. Who else should I be talking to? Right. And I'll remind them about you. I'm not on for a fortnight, but when I'm on, I'll remind them about you.
Yeah, well, do feel free to recommend someone else, because I'm actually...
No, darling. When I read their brief, new media, I know almost nothing about new media. I can see that they're all over Snapchat, and you're right, much more up their route than I am. So,
well, it's interesting that new media thing, because I first came across it when it was called Podcasters Convention or something, and it was held up in Manchester, and they brought in Chris Ducker, or he happened to be in the country and ended up speaking there. But Chris Ducker's a big deal, especially on Periscope. He's huge on Periscope, and he's probably Snapchatting as well. But I know he was very active on Periscope, and he was a big deal before, and he's a really cool guy with really solid content. And I think he's speaking again this year, but they've renamed it to New Media Europe, and they've got not just podcast tracks, as they're called in the conference world, but they've got new media tracks. So there's an award for social media, there's an award for best use of new social media, and so it's a pretty interesting event, and it's in London this year, so I'm pretty much guaranteed to go.
Is Is there an award for best female UK podcasters?
I don't know, but there ought to be one. Perhaps I'll suggest it, and then we can sponsor it, and then it'll be a shoo-in.
Well, gorgeous. Now tell me what's fueled your own fire this week.
Well, my lovely daughter is fueled by fire because she's been working away on Instagram all through the last couple of weeks, and not only is she growing her own account really well, she's working through the Nathan Chan thing, as I think I've told you, the Instagram. Can't remember what it's called now. Instagram domination or something. And she's also started an account for us for dog fashion and accessories, which is a bit of an experiment that Neil and I are doing. I can't tell you too much more about it, but it requires a social media presence, and we thought Instagram is definitely the way to go. And it's growing rapidly just by posting up little pictures of dogs in outfits and quotes that involve dogs. And so she's diligently working her way through the videos and putting it into action as well, which is visual learning with kinesthetic, isn't it, when you're actually doing it at the same time? And it's very much how I like to learn as well.
I don't know. I was so distracted by the thought of dogs in clothes that I lost focus there for a moment.
Did you know that Deborah Meaden's got a dog accessory and food range, nutrition range? She's gone into the dog market.
I think I might have parked it in the back of my mind somewhere. Yes.
And apparently, because obviously, it's all about selling British accessories to the Far East. And it turns out my friend Kim, who I went to have a haircut with the other day, and who has got a lovely dog, a little Jack Russell, who, although a sweet thing, gets the red mist of rage when she sees a bigger dog on the playground. She is the terrier mist of rage, apparently. And so I was telling her about it, and it turns out that her partner, his family owns a couple of factories, one of which make white label foods for the big names, and one of which make packaging and stuff. And they already do a lot of stuff for dog food nutrition. So it's like that reticulated activator thing. Once you start talking to people about it, you find things all over the shop, don't you?
Oh, so I'm sorry, I got confused when you said Deborah Meaden. You said dogs, and then you said nutrition. So you were talking about nutrition for dogs.
Well, it's accessories, fashion, and nutrition. Nutrition for dogs is bigger. I actually saw a shop on the telly the other day that is just for doggy treats. It's a doggy sweet shop and ice cream shop, because apparently dogs love frozen stuff, but obviously ice cream is really bad for them. So Deborah Meaden and Co. Are manufacturing dog food that is really, quality stuff, and dog treats, but they look like sweets and ice cream. It's a very surreal world.
I wonder whether that came out of Dragon's Den.
Yes, I think it was something to do with Dragon's Den. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was someone on there that she invested in. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. It's called Million Lily or Million. I don't know. I can't remember. It's a double name thing. Okay. If you search Deborah Meaden dog accessories, you'll find it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be doing that, but some of our listeners might. Some of our listeners might, with the smaller dog. Yeah.
And they've got to be carryable. Apparently, it's very funny because we were driving through Worthing on our way back from the gym yesterday, and we saw one dog walking along in a rather natty pink jumper, which obviously my eyes are catching it now. And then there's another woman walking along with a little white fluffy dog, and then we realised the little white fluffy dog was an actual toy. It wasn't a real dog at all.
Well, I'm in two minds about this, because I admire it from the perspective of making a business out of something that people will definitely buy, and as you know, the world is mad for their dogs. And the other half of me is reminded that when we lived in Singapore when I was a child, and we had some beautiful dogs, they would just eat what was left over. And because we were in Singapore, there was quite a lot of rice consumed. Now, it seems to me that nutrition for dogs and clothes for dogs is very much a first world problem, or first world nice to have, if you know what I mean. I'm not sure dogs... I know we're all so health conscious these days, and if we're eating well, why would we give our dogs minced up old donkeys? But I'm not sure that dogs need special food. I know why we would want to buy it for our dogs, because we're blotto in love with them.
Yeah, and also there's some amazing, if you go on Amazon and do searches for in various categories, we've come up with some very strange. You can get actually dog breath in, what's it called?
Yes, and you know what this is reminding of? People always buy what they want, not what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it a desire product rather than a need product? Yeah,
it is. It is. Yeah, it is.
From a marketing point of view, and a business point of view, it's absolutely fascinating. You're a cat lover, you see. You're never going to get into it, are you? But I'm more of a dog person.
Well, I do love dogs. I was brought up with dogs as well as cats, and my dad would have been a vet if he hadn't been a soldier. However, I don't think he would ever have allowed any of our dogs to wear clothes.
The thing I like about it, Judith, is the expressions on their faces. When you look at the Instagram accounts and you see the dogs that are dressed up, especially when they're dressed up in Halloween outfits and things, it's like they know. They definitely know that they're looking really stupid.
Yeah, you see, the trouble is we're making our dogs and cats too human-like, I think. When the Welsh side of my family, they didn't even allow their dogs to sleep indoors. Because they were sheep dogs, so they slept outside in the cold in their woolly coats, and half a raw animal was lobbed over the side of the wall for them to eat. You know, it's a different reality, isn't it? It's actually where it's come from is all of those women that have dogs they can fit in their handbags.
Yeah, lap dogs or bag dogs.
Yeah, yes, accessory. It's dogs as accessories, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I've been helping clients enjoy happier lives for nearly 40 years, during which time I've enjoyed thousands of conversations with human beings in all their infinite variety. It makes a big difference to have someone with whom you can share things you might not have told another living soul, perhaps not even admitted to yourself. A confidant, an ally, a secret weapon. Now, I've created Big Talk so that I can help you create a wonderful life through a series of significant conversations. You talk and I give you a damn good listening to. Our calls will raise your vibration and clear out all that stands between you and what you want. Big Talk will reshape your life, your work, your business, your ideas and your money. We'll talk about anything and everything. Visit judithmorgan.com to find out more about Big Talk and prepare for your magical transformation.
So, what's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, it's awfully messy, actually. I'm not altogether sure how I'm going to describe it to you, but there have been two sorts of problem showing up in my life through my clients this week, and they're like the two opposite ends of a seesaw. One is a very busy and controlling person who doesn't want anything to drop off their to-do list, and they're always frightened that they haven't done enough and they're not good enough and they'll let somebody down and they can't relax and they're exhausted. They've got so much to do in so little time. And I'll come back to this, but it's somebody, and I have been that person, who feels good by achievement. And the other side, sitting on the other end of the seesaw, is somebody who fears they can't get round to doing anything at all and they're not really cut out for self-employment. So it's the seesaw of the overachievers on one end and the underachievers on the other. And what it's all about, it's very emotionally messy. It's about feelings. It's about how they feel. It's not the truth on either end of those things. So if you're the overachiever who feels exhausted and you've got these endless to-do lists and you don't feel you're scratching the surface, it's your feelings, not the facts. And if you're the other end, which is you're underconfident and you're not sure you'll be able to achieve, you don't think you're cut out for self-employment, you don't think you can do anything if I'm not there breathing down your neck. It's not the truth, again, it's what you believe about yourself, if that makes sense. So I know how you love emotionally messy feelings. That's what we're talking about this week.
Okay. Well, I mean, when I first discovered coaching, I read all, I was going up and down to London, so I was doing an hour and a half on the train, really, each way. That's 3 hours a day, and quite a lot of time for thinking. And I was reading lots of books, and I started, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was my first one. And I was that person who started making to-do lists, and I had sort of 3 different projects on the go. And I did, like you say, get my sense of moving forward from ticking things off those to-do lists. But now I try and stick just 3 things on my to-do list maximum each day.
Yes. I think, well, if we talk about self-esteem for the moment, it's lovely, isn't it, when we get a nice testimonial or a nice piece of feedback or somebody else makes us feel good about ourselves. But the thing through all the personal development that I've come to understand is that you can get up in the morning and do nothing at all and feel good just because you are.
Oh, I think you're a higher level of evolved being than.
No, I'm learning that lesson from the Dalai Lama or somebody like that. But the point is, you don't have to earn self-esteem; it just is.
Yeah.
So people that feel good by doing things, I feel good by ticking things off my list and but it's false. Self-esteem is just something that you are entitled to. You don't have to earn it. You get up in the morning and you can feel great. Okay, you might have to choose it for a while, you might have to fake it, but you don't have to earn it. And the other side is true in a way, which is they're both telling me, both of these people on either ends of the seesaw, and let's say that the overachiever is heavy, so she's on the bottom end, and the underachiever is a bit flaky and light, so she's on the top end. What they're both telling me is, I don't feel good. And the irony of this if it's painful to be an overachiever and painful to be an underachiever, what we need is them both to go towards one another. We need the overachiever to relax a bit so she lightens up and the seesaw comes up, and the underachiever to have a go at things, allay fears, relax. They've both got to relax. That's what they've got to do. They've got to be relax and put one foot in front of the other. But it's so complex. I mean, honestly, I've had endless debates this week. The ratio is overachievers 2 to 1.
Yeah.
So I've got more overachievers with extra long to-do lists who, I'm frightened of letting somebody down. If I forget something, it'll all go horribly wrong. It's the same thing, really. I'm not good enough. I can't wake up in the morning and feel good unless I overwork. And I've woken up this morning and I don't feel good, and I don't think I'm ever going to do this because I don't think I'm good enough.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you'd think there'd be more of the latter, because they would be attracted to an energetic coaching style, wouldn't they? Because
yeah, possibly. Yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But also overachievers are attracted to practical, down-to-earth coaching styles. So because they want people to tell them what they need to do and what they don't.
Yeah, they want me to tell them. They want me to remind them and point out to them that they're all right, really. And I think that the underachievers I've got a plan for, which is they can't talk to me for an hour once a month. They've got to talk to me for either 30 minutes fortnightly or 15 minutes weekly, because they can do it when I'm with them.
Yeah.
And then when I go away and leave them on their own, for a bit like swimming, teaching your child swimming, don't go too far away. If I'm there with them, they can do it. So some people have got to have daily accountability. Email me at 5 o'clock today that tell me you've done one small thing.
Yeah.
Because if I just leave them there on their own, there's too many distractions. I've got to walk the dog, got to put the washing machine on, I've got to make my husband's tea, I've got to spend 3 hours on Facebook.
Of course, that latter one's very urgent.
Yeah, I think also as well, let me just have a think about this. What occurred to me when I was saying that? It's not just women these days, by the way. Men feel funny feelings like this as well. They're more inclined perhaps to talk themselves out of it. But the people who are hard on themselves are really hard on them. Well, it's all about being hard on either end of the seesaw here. They're being hard on themselves.
It's like babies weren't born with low self-esteem, were they?
No.
It must have happened along the way, and definitely once people started going to school, that's when it really starts to. Because that's when
I definitely think school, don't you? Because that's all about achievement from the age of about 3 onwards, isn't it?
Well, it might have been in your day, but nowadays there's no competition encouraged whatsoever. So I think they don't get any sense of achievement because they're not. You'd get the child who is better at art and the child who is better at sports, and neither of them are allowed to achieve nowadays because competition isn't encouraged.
Yeah.
So that's not very helpful as well. And then you get out into the world of work and everyone thinks going to university is going to solve your problems. But then, of course, people come out of university and can't get a job even on minimum wage. So that's not going to be very healthy for self-esteem either, is it?
No, it's not.
I remember Rich Sheffrin used to say to people who were really struggling like this, if you made a list, and he used to encourage people to do it, if you make a list of everything you have to do from the minute you get out of bed, i.e. open your eyes, put the kettle on, clean your teeth, shower, wash your hair, and all the things you do on complete autopilot, you would realise that you actually achieve quite a lot every day. And by ticking those things off, your brain doesn't know the difference between a big job and a little job. So by ticking those things off, and I know it sounds daft and ridiculous, but it really does have a positive effect on your self-esteem. I remember when I was unemployed once, I can't remember, God, it must have been years ago, because I'm very rarely unemployed, and I remember I got quite down about it. I remember when it was the winter, when it snowed a lot, and nobody wanted to go out because it was really, really, really cold, and I lived in a house that was really, really, really cold. We had one fire in the living room, and everyone just huddled around it in duvets, reading books and things. And I remember I was really pleased with myself if I could make myself go to the corner shop and buy a newspaper to look for a job. So,
Well, I have a similar story to regale, actually. I was unemployed for 3 months in February. Hang on a minute. February 1970. It was before I came back to London. 6, 7.
The long hot summer.
I'd been working for no, it was like you said, it was in the snow. It was February, March, and April in the snow, and I came to exactly the same place as you, which was you get very down and very low, and you say things like, right, I'm going to make bread from scratch, I'm going to redecorate the house, and you don't do anything. You don't get out of bed except on Wednesday to get on your bike to go to the Doyle Centre to collect your cheque. And that was because I'd given up on secretarial work and I was never going to do it ever again. And then in May, I think I had 17 pence to spend on myself. So I got my act together and got a job. In fact, I came back to London. But the point of this story is in both of you're Unemployed in the Snow by Nicola and Judith, we both got very low because we weren't achieving anything at all. And if you don't achieve anything, it becomes impossible to achieve anything at all, I think, because self-esteem goes, self-esteem goes out the window. Shouldn't do, but does. Perhaps more evolved now. However, looking back to these two extremes of people, it is easier for me to talk down the overachiever to being more forgiving of themselves than it is, let's do the second sort. What would you say to somebody who fears they're not cut out for self-employment because they have only ever had a job and they're not sure that they know? Effectively what they're saying is, I'm not sure I know how to order my day in order to do things I've said I'm going to do and do the things that need doing, because I'm not really used to working on my own.
I have so little experience of working with people like this, Judith, because they just aren't attracted to me. I think because I must give off the vibe that I wouldn't be great with that.
Well, I don't think so. I tell you what I think it is. You work them through a program, don't you? Effectively, they're all working through a program with you. So
yes.
You do have people that fail in that.
I do, and I find it. I even at some of my top level clients. So when I think back to some of my top level clients, they've for reasons outside their control, often family, bereavement, illness, or elderly relatives. I've got one client who's very high achieving at the moment, and he's just simply incapable of getting a report finished because he's got elderly parents that he's constantly having to take to the hospital and bring back, and it's just an endless round of obligations to other people.
Yeah.
So that is very different.
I think that's a very important point, because actually the overachievers feel very obligated to other people and to their projects.
Yeah.
The underachievers, I think it's not all about achievement, but I'm going to call them the unders and the overs for the minute. The unders are, well, you and I have always been quite desperate to make money because nobody else was going to pay our bills. That's one of them.
Well, either that or we had to go and get a job, which was
That's one of them. I'm trying to think of motivators. If you're a man or a woman where your other half is paying the bills and you're not desperate enough, that might be it. There's nothing snapping at heels. If you're not sufficiently energetically hooked into why you're doing it, your dream goal, it seems remote and it keeps going away. Is it worth it? I don't seem to be getting any closer. I think that could be it. And also, one of my clients this week has deliberately chosen a lifestyle which is sort of appealing to me, not fully, but it's give up my job in the UK, go and live in another country that's warmer, live nearly off-grid, mostly off-grid, be relaxed, grow my own olives, herbs, and lemons, and cook things from scratch and make things from scratch, and have a lifestyle which is about living in the moment and being relaxed. And that's the antithesis. I mean, that's the whole point of her life, which is I'm laid back, and I've chosen it. And, if that's the lifestyle, I'm not sure that they need to become an alpha type. They need to find a way of making it work, because obviously she's got to bring people out there to stay there in order to pay the bills. They need to find a way, but they certainly don't need to swap roles, these two types of cliche. They don't need to, I'll get off the end of the seesaw and swap with you. They need to both balance the seesaw horizontally in the middle. They need to just move towards one another.
I think that person's very different from the person who's got such crippling low self-esteem they can't get up and do one thing every day to move their business or dreams forward. That person is actually choosing to live the life. It's the old fisherman and the businessman.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I don't know that the other people get up in the morning, they're unable to achieve anything. I think that they think that the things they do, they can't see the value in the things they do. You know how, if we look back over our lifestyle, our lives, we know that if you did one thing today and one thing tomorrow and one thing the next day, eventually you end in a better place. And even if you miss a few days because you just can't bear it, or you've got all those other challenges you just list, if you put one foot in front of the other, ultimately there's a breakthrough point. But it's just longer than anybody wants. They want instant results. They don't. It's follow through that's missing. I'll tell you what it is. There was another lady I talked to this morning who had an exciting launch, and then the reality dawned on her that launch isn't enough. You've got to now you've got to plug away at it every day for the rest of your life, and it gets easier at some point, but only when you've achieved that momentum.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about how much easier things are going now than they were in 2011 when I couldn't give my marketing expertise away. Literally.
Yeah.
But I had to.
And you see, Nicola, that is quite a long time. That is 5 years.
Yeah, and again, hate to mention the GV word, but he's always banging on at the moment about patience as well. I mean, I had a person rang me up yesterday out of the blue, and I really, couldn't remember the name at all, and but we'd obviously spoken, and she was very warm, and she was referring a couple of people to me and asked me the best way to do that. And it turned out that she'd seen me speak at Athena. I'd inspired and everything, and she'd come along and we'd had a conversation. She signed up as an affiliate, so she was able to refer people straight away. But nothing had happened since then, and that was a good 2015. That's a year and a half ago. So you have to take actions, believing. I always think of it as a ripple in a pond. You have to chuck those pebbles in the pond. It's going to make a ripple, but you don't know where the ripple is going to bounce back from or end up. But it will make a difference. Just taking an action every day will change things.
All right. Now, the image I want you to source to go with today's podcast is precisely that: stones in ponds and ripples, please, if you can. Because that's exactly it. That's exactly it, which is, let's just keep chucking the pebbles in the pond.
Yeah, and you don't know what's underneath the water because you can't see through it. You don't know what, the ripple's going to go and they're going to hit the sides and they're going to come back.
And tell me what Gary Vee's saying about patience. What's his core message there? It all takes longer than you think.
Oh, well, it does, yes. And how people are so impatient now. They want everything to happen. This is the lure of the instant riches, isn't it? Every so-called guru worth their salt is selling instant turnkey easy riches. And Gary was saying, I first heard about him in 2006, and Phoebe said that it's 10 years, and I said yes.
Well, it's not even instant riches. It's instant anything, isn't it? Anything can if I want something, I can stream it now. I don't have to wait for it to be delivered. I don't have to go to shop and buy it. Do you know what I mean? If I want something sent round, it will come round by courier or same day delivery or something. It's not just instant riches. I think it's instant gratification across all areas of our lives, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing, just coming back to the overachievers for a minute, I remember that the terrible pressure of feeling that I wanted to become successful, and the more I did every day would bring me there quicker. And I think that's why it's very important, especially for a coach working with this an entrepreneurial high achiever, is to map out timelines. Going back to the Traction book, which I loved so much, it's got a really nice 2-page business planner in it where you work backwards from your goal 3 years time or 10 years time, and you start setting yearly goals to get a third of the way, and then you go and set quarterly goals to get a quarter of the way that you need to be in a year's time. And I remember feeling very relieved when I came across that kind of timeline planning and chunking goals down, because it meant that as long as you were hitting your goals every day, week, month, you didn't have to do everything tomorrow or today.
Yeah.
It just gave you permission to do as much as you needed to do to hit your goal, or perhaps even a little bit more to make sure you hit your goal, because that was another thing. Do you remember when we were in that aircraft hangar in New Jersey? I discovered that the thing I needed to do was go a bit further than I thought I did to meet my goal. And I learnt that from the plank breaking exercise. You have to actually punch through the plank to be able to break the plank.
Yes,
So,
I do remember being freezing cold and wearing my coat and hat for
you
several
weren't
days.
very impressed with the plank breaking thing. I remember you flatly refused.
No, I don't like those exercises at all.
But
But
what it did show me was that I needed to do a little bit more than I thought I did to make sure I
yeah,
met my goals, but I didn't need to
yes,
achieve all my goals today and tomorrow.
no. Okay, so this is about managing expectations as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is, and that's that feeling of pressure that the high achieving entrepreneur feels. I know I'm going to be successful. The more I can do today, the quicker it will come. And actually, you're just setting yourself up for failure because you have to chunk them down and then achieve them, and it just takes all that horrible pressure feeling away from you. And that's where the to-do list, limiting your to-do list as well. That's really good. Don't have more than say 10 things on your to-do list. I think that even that's too many. 3 to 5 is about right, I think.
I think the core message here, whether you're the overachiever or the underachiever, is I'm never good enough.
Well, you can make yourself feel better by just doing one thing every day. Just one thing.
Oh, you can make yourself feel better by doing things that you love. And it doesn't necessarily have to be stuff on your to-do list.
And doing things that come easy in your flow as well. That's really important, isn't it? Because otherwise you're totally compensating for your weaknesses all the time, which means you're focusing on your weaknesses, which means your weaknesses get worse. Whereas if you can concentrate on your strengths and work in your flow.
Oh, that's a good one. Well, concentrate on your strengths is a very good one. I think the other thing that both of these different types of people don't know, and I think that about themselves, is how much we don't see them like that. So it's the still small voice that says I'm not good enough, whereas actually your family and friends and colleagues like and admire and respect you for a myriad of different reasons that they haven't soaked in yet to give you a complete picture about yourself, I think.
Yeah. And well, that's where mindfulness comes in, isn't it? And knowing and hearing your own thoughts, being self-aware of what you're saying to yourself, because the people with low self-esteem are carrying on the harsh critique that they perceived or actually heard from their parents and school teachers. And
yes, indeed. Yeah.
You can't stop talking to yourself badly like that. You're never going to be happy.
No, and I tell you what, I'm remembering two things now. One that you've always said, which is you'll remember who this quote was by. I don't. The thing about it's about the person you need to become. The reason for being not self-employed, but for the reason for being.
Oh, yes.
Remember that one?
Yeah, it's Mike Littman, Conversation with Millionaires. I don't know how I can remember that and not remember where I put things a minute ago. But it was Conversations with Millionaires. It says one of the best reasons to set a goal to become a millionaire is for the people you'll meet and the fun you'll have along the way.
And the person you'll need to become. Yeah. And I think one more point on this, which the people on, well, both sorts might find relaxing, is that actually if you're in a job, you could hide from these issues from the rest of your life, but they're much more exposed by being self-employed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and all you have to do in a job is look busy enough to get paid.
Yes.
But being an entrepreneur is all about personal development, isn't it? Because you cannot become an entrepreneur without learning about yourself and improving yourself.
Yeah, no, that's right. And these are all on the outside suddenly. And in a way, isn't that a marvellous reason for being self-employed, to deal with your SH1T?
Yeah. Even if you're doing it as a side hustle on the side of your day job, you'll still confront all those things.
Yeah. So it's the hero's journey.
It is the hero's journey, and that's why we're all so drawn to the hero's journey, because we all want to be heroes underneath.
Yeah.
And we can.
And so we're learning about ourselves and what we perceive to be our shortcomings, and we're changing our minds about them and taking different actions depending on which end of this seesaw you find yourself.
Yeah, very true.
Good.
Words of the week then.
Well, related to that, I'm going for effort. How much and how little. So depending on if you're too high on that seesaw, you're doing too much, and if you're on the bottom end, you're doing too little. And last week I wrote a newsletter about hard work and whether work was actually hard or not. Effort. How much? Imagine there's a dial called effort. You can choose a different level every day.
Oh yes, you can. That's a nice thought actually. So you can dial it back a bit at the weekends, or when you're feeling not so great, as I have on occasions in the last couple of weeks, and then you can dial it up when you're feeling better, as long as you're
Yes.
dialing
Or
it up at least half the time.
well, quite. And you dial it up when you need a spurt. Do you know what I mean? Or I see the finishing tapes in line, I get a wiggle on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, deadlines are brilliant for that, aren't they? And not just self-imposed deadlines as well. It's like, it's like this podcast is a deadline of sorts, and
Yes, it is.
and doing a talk. For example, I'm speaking at a digital festival in Kent in April, and it's still far enough away that I'm not really thinking about it, but it's very much on my consciousness because I keep seeing them tweet it. And I know that I have got to go back to my my presentation for Athena and upgrade it for 2016. So external deadlines are very good like that. Make you make an effort, and one always does, doesn't one?
So, what's your word, Dawn?
Spontaneity. Because we were just in the car in Worthing yesterday, and now here we are in the Waldorf. and we got a very funny story. I didn't tell you the funniest bit of the story was that we went, spontaneity, obviously, I went to lastminute.com and booked in. And Judith, I'll never make the same mistake again, ever, ever, ever. I left the 3-star unticked. Ticked instead of unticking the 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star. And we rocked up at this hotel, and I've got Phoebe with me, remember? So I want it to be nice. And it was in Bloomsbury, so I thought, how bad can it be? And it was called the Opulence. Dear listeners, never go and stay at the Opulence. There was this very sweet little chap who showed us. Well, we had to go upstairs to reception, which was a bit odd in itself, and it was a bit over decorated. And he said, well, you've got one room on the lower ground floor that's got 2 beds, and one room on the 4th floor that's got a double bed, but it's not very big, and it's half the size of the lower ground floor. So I sent Phoebe down to see the lower ground floor one, thinking, not keen on that idea. And she came back with a very strange look on her face. I went down and had a look, and oh my God, it was so grim. You would have had to hold the shower yourself while you were showering, and the blankets on the beds. It was a bit over decorated, but the blankets on the beds looked like they'd seen very better days as horse blankets. And so we just walked out, and he tried to tempt us then with his very best room and get £100 out of us to upgrade. And it was, as Phoebe said, it was like the Gryffindor common room at Hogwarts. It was just not in a good way.
So here's a good game for you both. If you were to rename the Opulence, what would you call it? Because it certainly wasn't opulent, was it?
No, we'd call it a bad day at Hogwarts.
Hell of Hogwarts.
The hell of Hogwarts, she says. But then we got onto lastminute.com, and I don't know what I'd have done if Phoebe hadn't been there, because my phone is still a bit small for me, really, so I was struggling to see. But we booked into one of their last minute deals for the same price that he was trying to charge us for this upgraded room, and then once you've put your credit card in, you get notified of where you're going, and I just laughed out loud because it was the Waldorf Hilton.
Well, I know exactly where you are. What a nice part of London.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and the hotel's really lovely. I'm going to put a picture on Facebook soon. They've got a really beautiful faux art arrangement of flannels and glasses in the bathroom that's all lit beautifully, and it's
yes, I've been several times to the Waldorf, mostly for afternoon tea. Jolly nice.
Yeah, and that was spontaneous. We just decided to do it, and it was the most fun ever. It wasn't. We didn't. She said to me, "What's going to happen?" I said, "I've got no idea, Phoebe, but it'll be a laugh, whatever it is."
When my brother was first posted to New York, he lived in the Waldorf for about 5 months.
Is that the Waldorf Astoria over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Very nice, and it's such a lovely man on reception, and it was a million miles away. But the thing is about spontaneity, if I'd have been worried about where I was going to sleep, I mean, that trip across America knocked that one out of me. We wouldn't have done it because we'd have been trying to control all the different outcomes, wouldn't we? But
well, I tell you what, there's a lot more opulence at the Waldorf than there is at the Opulence.
Yeah, very true. Marvelous. And yes, so project update.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, I can't really think I've done anything on my project updates.
Well, that's good because I haven't really either this week. It's school holidays, and one of mine is with mums, and it seems like it was only just half term, and now we're on Easter holidays already. So I haven't got much to tell you in this week either. In this section.
I've been outsourcing everything, so that's why I don't feel like my projects have moved forward. They've just been rolling along normal, which is a fantastic feeling, I must say.
But that is. I mean, actually, if we end up here saying our projects are rolling along as normal, that's not a bad place to find ourselves, is it?
No, it's not at all. So who or what's impressed then? You go first, and then I can round off with a
Bulgarian cleaner that was sent to me yesterday by my cleaning app. English was not her first language. She's only been in the UK for 4 months. She was early. She was cheerful. She was assertive. She told me that there must be Harpic next time. She in Bulgaria, she's an engineer. In the UK,
Wow.
she's a cleaner.
Oh, God.
And she's doing it to send money home to elderly, poorly parents. But it doesn't matter that she's a cleaner in the UK, and I told her this because what she has is a successful attitude. She did a fantastic job. And anybody who is all of those qualities, early, cheerful, assertive, can find a way of relating to somebody even though English is not their first language, and leaves me, even this morning, happy that she came yesterday, is a woman on her way up in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, because people love that kind of positive, outgoing, can-do kind of thing, don't they?
Mm.
And they will find ways. I mean, I know I do. I will find ways to work with people like that.
Yeah, quite.
Completely. And you can, they say hire for attitude and train for skills. So...
Well, there you go. I've written down attitude and underlined it here. She had a fantastic attitude.
Marvellous. And so you're really, really, really clean around your gaff now then?
I am clean, yes. That was before the estate agent visited. I don't think he could give a monkeys about how clean it was, to be honest, but there you go.
Oh, interesting. Well, obviously, I'm going to bang on a little bit about Gary Vee.
Oh, obviously, yes. We're expecting it, really, yeah.
Yeah, you're braced. The thing that really struck me last night, because it was a weird thing, because they so many people. It was funny because Phoebe and I went past the corner about 3/4 of an hour before he was due, and he didn't know where he was going to take everyone, so he just said meet on the corner of Soho Square and Frith, and we went past it on there. We had a lovely dinner in Little Italy, which is just down Frith Street. Highly recommended. There was a really nice looking tapas bar down there as well, which I like the look of. And there was only about 10 to 15 people hanging about on a street corner, and we weren't even sure that they were waiting for this. And then when we came back about 10:30, there was, I don't know how many, 100 thieves, 100 people. Yeah, it was absolutely mental. It was like one of the Kardashians had arrived or something. It was crazy, and everybody was Snapchatting. Everybody was climbing on railings to get a video of him, because he's not a tall guy. And he was.
Well, I saw it live on Facebook, and I watched it, and I thought, I started looking for you, and I thought, well, no, I don't need to look for Nicola because she's tomorrow night, not tonight. I should have stayed watching a bit longer. I did see it; it was fun.
So who was videoing it? Do you know? Was it Gary?
He was live doing whatever you call it on a Facebook video.
I'm going to have to go and have a look. Anyway, so we lurked about on the outside, and one of the first people that spoke to us was a guy called Matthias, who remembered me from the cruise in 2009. Which was really, really bizarre. And he was telling us that he's doing social media all in French. So he Snapchats entirely in French. So if anyone wants to up their French game, go and follow Matthias Mar, M-A, on Facebook, Snapchat, and you'll see him chatting away as he goes around the world. And he does travel a lot, so you'll see some interesting stuff, but it's all in French. And then next person I bumped into that we knew was Matt Duggan, who'd come down just because he heard it was happening, and we had a lovely time. And Phoebes was, lurking about the outside of because we didn't realise it, but people were going in, having a quick chat with him, getting a selfie, and then coming out again. And so the crowd did diminish over time, but we had a lovely time, and there was lots of little extra things going on around the outside. So there was one guy periscoping. There was even a tramp going around singing to people to get cash, and he was singing. Interesting, he was singing. What was he singing? Was it The Hustle Baby by Van McCoy and the Soul City Symphony? And I was like, how do I remember what that tune's called? So it was a great event. There was lots of really amazing stuff happening. It was a real event. And the thing that really struck me once we got to the point where we could actually see him was he was speaking very quietly. He wasn't trying to project to the crowd. He was really connecting one-on-one with every single person he spoke to. And it was, it was just incredible to see. He wasn't distracted by all the hoo-ha around him. He wasn't distracted by all the cameras. He just looked each person in the eye, had a real proper conversation with them for a few minutes, did a selfie. You got the feeling he was going to stay there until everybody that wanted one had a selfie with him, which is lovely.
And just remind me, are you up there? Has he got a proper Orthodox gig today, has he?
Yes, he's got a proper book signing and Q&A speaking session at We Work in East London.
Okay.
but the other thing was, it was so funny because Phoebe is quite shy, and she was chatting away to lots of other people. She met 2 or 3 new friends, didn't you, Phoebes? And she was getting into the inner circle, and then just at that point, she was feeling very nervous about actually shaking his hand, and the adrenaline was starting to go. And she walked in, and finally turned to her, and you said, didn't you, Phoebes, something along the lines of, "I'm Phoebe. I don't have a question. I've just come to meet you because you're so inspiring." And he said, "Oh, who are you here with?" And she said, "I'm here with my mum." And Gary said, "Let's have a cheer for your mum." And then everybody cheered. It was brilliant.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And are you two, is it a second night at the Waldorf? Are you coming home?
No, I'm Phoebe's coming home, and I'm going off to another hotel in East London, which I booked previously. Okay. But it's been a very, very, very positive experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But just seeing him connect with everyone so willingly and focused. He was very focused on each person, which I think is a marvellous skill considering how many people were there.
I think it tells you a lot as well about the man.
Yes, it does. He's not there for, although he says oxygen is his he breathes. Attention is my oxygen is one of his phrases. But you definitely got the impression that the attention was not just about him getting attention. It was about him.
No, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Lovely. Great experience.
Good. Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Yes, I will. And I'll see you soon. And we'll talk about some sort of competition to win at least 3 of his books, I think.
Yes. When are you back? Tomorrow?
Yes, I'm back tomorrow.
Well, nudge me on Skype and we'll work that out.
Okay. All right. Speak soon.
See you soon. Yeah. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.